All right, multiple videos have been unearthed of Stephen Miller showing that in some ways, how he's acting now in the Trump administration shouldn't be surprising. In fact, it's how he's always been. And we also have social media posts from Stephen Miller's cousin exposing him. And this is happening at a time, the reason why this is all coming up is because ICE is out of control under Stephen Miller's direct authorization. Or here are some Chicago police officers after being gassed by ICE. This is escalating faster than I think many people realize.
They just tear gas you. They don't give a fuck about you either. Why are you protecting them?
Yeah, so police officers now are under the tyranny of the federal government and the Trump administration. We also have here this woman, Lori Ekman. Now, just so you know, this is a little graphic, what I'm about to show you. It says here, Lori Ekman, 84, said she and her husband, Richard Ekman, also said 84, and a Vietnam War veteran, were rushed by federal officers for no apparent reason. She said her husband was leaning on his walker and wearing his Vietnam veteran's cap as he was pushed to the ground with no warning. The feds charged him into us, not just down, and spread us. I was hit in the head with a projectile. Here's Lori's head. Obviously, she got very hurt. This is what the Trump administration has created in our country. We're also getting reporting here that a New Hampshire libertarian from what is called the Free State New Hampshire Project was detained by Border Patrol and Customs for 90 minutes. After they rifled through all my belongings, read my personal journal, and confiscated my phone and computer, I had to explain to them that at the Free State NH is a nonviolent, peaceful libertarian movement that builds community culture and political change. We were invited to New Hampshire in early 2000s by the governors of the state. In detail, I had to explain the nature of the defend the guard movement, and assure them that I was not part of a violent extremist group seeking to raise militia for insurrection against the government, which is just so ironic that Trump is worried about that now after having caused an insurrection. And at one point during my detention, I asked for clarification of what rights I had there as a U.S. citizen and was told that they did not need a warrant for anything in my possession, including all of my electronic devices. They eventually let me go. And this person says he was shaken in shock. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, and I've talked about this already on the channel, but I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of people who are like, well, this is what you get. This is what you get. I kind of feel like this is what you get, and I told you so, isn't going to help us win and defeat American fascism. We need the broadest coalition imaginable. We need the crazy MAGA conspiracy theorists. We need libertarians. We need the far left progressives. We need everyone in order to defeat Donald Trump and what's coming next. Because as you're seeing with these clips, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. So literally gassing police officers. So we have to be very serious about what's happening here. Now, as I said, there is some footage of Stephen Miller that kind of shows that this is who this man has always been.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us.
Literally, you could not make up a better origin story for a cartoon villain than talking about how the school janitors should be picking up your trash. You shouldn't be throwing it away. No, as I said, Stephen Miller's cousin actually came out. This is her right here, speaking out against Stephen Miller in a very long post that is very, very long. Most of the post actually just reflects on what is happening in this country, which is awful. But the part that I think is especially interesting for you is this. Many of you know who my cousin is. Being public about it is something I've struggled with. I live with real fear about what posting something this raw might bring. I am living with deep pain of watching someone I once loved become the face of evil. But I know that staying silent only deepens the ache. There's so much more I could say, and maybe someday I will. So this is, I think, incredibly brave. Her name is Alyssa Kasmer. And I just have to say, if you could please just leave a note of support below, because we do need everyone to speak out and to make the difference that they can. And I do think Stephen Miller's cousin, his family member, coming out and saying that what's happening in this country is not okay, it's anti-American, is important. And Stephen Miller was also just on CNN asked if they were planning on defying the court ruling, and here's what happened.
You've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seemed.
So he went on to say that they will actually follow the order, but then he did say that they have other means in which they can get federal troops into Oregon. So we're going to keep following this. We also had video of Stephen Miller advocating for the torture of Iraqi citizens.
To the issue of the Iraqi civilians, I think that as many of them should survive as possible, because the goal of any military conflict is to kill as few people as possible. But as for Saddam Hussein and his henchmen, I think the ideal solution would be to cut off their fingers. I don't think it's necessary to kill them entirely. We're not a barbaric people. We respect life. Therefore, torture is the way to go. Because tortured people can live. Torture is a celebration of life and human dignity. We need to remember that as we enter these very dark and dangerous times in the next century. And I only hope that many of my peers and people who will be leading this country will appreciate the value and respect that torture shows towards other cultures.
That is the person leading the Trump administration. The person who is openly joking and wishing for the torture of civilians. I believe him. I believe him. I believe he believes that. We've seen that now in the policies that he's enacted, the things he's saying, which are insane. A judge ruled against Trump in Oregon because the judge said that there is no war happening, no warlike conditions happening in Portland. He said that was a judicial insurrection. To that, thank God for Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom said this, live look at Stephen Miller tonight. So these people can be defeated. We have to do it with mockery, and we have to do it not by pointing fingers at people who made the wrong decision last year, but by welcoming them now if they see that things are bad and they could be better. And again, mocking them. We must mock the shit out of them. We should. Because evil people should be laughed at. And then when we get power again, we've got to put all of these people in prison for a long time to make sure this doesn't happen ever again. Well, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.